The Dave Hooker Show. A presentation of Off the Hook Sports. Objective insight, expertise, top guests. Available on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and the Off the Hook Sports app. Download now for free. Also available on offthehooksports.com.
I compute and obey.
Now to Dave Hooker.
Ready.
On a Wednesday, loaded up, Jay Billis takes a shot at the Vols. Was it fair or not? As always, Ron Slay on a Wednesday. We absolutely love him. And if Rick Barnes is able to advance to the Elite Eight or beyond, is he suddenly one of Tennessee's best basketball coach in its history? And if they make a Final Four run, where would he rank even stacked up against some football coaches? We'll go there. So want to start, though, with kudos to this young man, Caleb Calhoun, who was about as harsh on Rick Barnes as anybody that I've ever been around. And I tell you, in a heartbeat, Saturday night, I was thinking about this, comes full circle. And what I love is somebody that has strong opinions, but is willing to admit they're wrong. And I guess to some extent, we both have to admit we're wrong, because here Rick Barnes is indeed in the Sweet 16. Good morning, Caleb. How are you?
Now, I feel like that was a backhanded compliment. I'm good this morning. But that's like, hey, Caleb, reminder, you were wrong.
It was one of those compliments that when you get halfway through it sounded backhanded, and I tried to fix it, and I couldn't at that point. But so I included myself. No, I was the same way. I was on the same page. Kudos for me and Caleb on being willing to change our viewpoints. Yes, crowds are all excited. They're fired up. And we are with you for the next hour or so. Ron Slay will join us. Did I mention that already? So a lot going on as we're going to talk some Tennessee football. The Vols open spring practice as well. So that's always a good thing. Might have a preview of Tennessee's wide receivers. We're going to try to work in everything we can, but we certainly have to have the one, the only Ron Slay in here. So we'll do that as well. And I can't believe we're asking this question, but how things change in sports. It is time for today's tough question. It's brought to you by our friends at Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and Hahn Vision Center. Today's tough question is now.
Today's tough question. Take a side. Take a stand. The Dave Hooker Show, a presentation of offthehooksports.com.
Rick Barnes in the Sweet 16 should go to the Elite Eight with a very favorable matchup in the third round of the NCAA tournament. Where would that rank him among Tennessee's greatest coaches of all time? We'll start with basketball. It's brought to you by Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and Hahn Vision Center. Done locally and done right. I love Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and Hahn in Knoxville because their doctors care about you and they're local. Got other vision centers that'll fly people in from all over the place, all over the country to do LASIK and cataract surgery. I don't know about you, but I like to know my surgeon. No glasses, no contacts. I'm golden. So let's start with basketball. Bruce Pearl led Tennessee to the Elite Eight once. Jerry Green was knocking on the door. We talked about that infamous night in Austin, Texas, when they couldn't beat North Carolina because a guy named Julius Peppers came into the game, was completely different than Brendan Hayward. So the list of successful basketball coaches is not really long. Kevin O'Neal stockpiled talent. Wade Houston had a son named Allen. You want to go back, way back. Ray Mears was a legendary marketer and coach. But I'm going to be honest with you, it's a little before my time to tell you that he's a true X's and O's guy. I don't know. But what he did in marketing the sport should never be forgotten. So I ask you, today's tough question brought to you by Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and Hahn. Quite simply, Caleb, if Tennessee wins, get to the Elite Eight, are we having a real conversation that Rick Barnes is the best coach in Tennessee basketball history?
We're having a strong conversation.
I agree.
If he gets to the Elite Eight, I think he surpasses Bruce Pearl. Now, Bruce Pearl did win.
In stature.
In stature, yes. Now, Bruce Pearl and Rick Barnes both each won one SEC regular season title. There's caveats to both of them, though. When Bruce Pearl won his, the SEC was in 2 divisions at the time, so you would split the regular season title with the West Division winner, if that makes sense. When Rick Barnes won his, I don't think he should have been given it because Tennessee and Auburn had the same record that year, but Auburn beat Tennessee. But apparently the SEC doesn't care about head-to-head. If you are tied for the same record, you are co-champions at the end of the year. You both get to win it. So it's hazy either way. Here's where it's a difference. Rick Barnes won an SEC tournament. Nobody else since Don DeVoe has won an SEC tournament at Tennessee. And that's a huge deal to win it. I know we talk about the conference tournaments are throwaways, but that is a tournament championship trophy that you win.
Yes, you take that and you put that in your trophy case.
Exactly. And Rick Barnes got that. And he had Tennessee at number 1 for 3 weeks. Bruce Pearl had them at number 1 for 48 hours. And he has a 30-win season, just like Bruce Pearl had one 30-win season. So I think he surpasses Bruce Pearl. The question does become Ray Mears. It was a different time. Ray Mears, as far as I'm aware, only made it to the NCAA tournament 3 times, and they never really made it that far. But what we have to remember is during that time, the NCAA was so outdated, they only took the conference tournament champion for the longest time, or the conference regular season champion. And that's why I think this. There was a point in college basketball where the NIT was more high profile than the NCAA tournament because of that stupid thing they were doing with.
To me, Caleb, comparing Barnes and Mears is like comparing Fulmer and Neyland. I feel like we could go roundabout with either all day, and you and I may end up agreeing or disagreeing, but we could have that conversation forever. It was essentially 2 completely different sports. I mean, really, wasn't it?
That's fair. It was. I disagree. I don't think Fulmer and Neyland is that close. I don't think anybody can be clear compared to Neyland.
No, I don't either. But I'm just saying, if you compared the different eras, that's 50 years apart.
You're right. That's where it does get tricky, is because it's so far apart. But I still think it's fair to coaches are tasked with dealing with the sport that's in front of them and using their intellect to adapt to it and get out ahead of it, whatever that may be at the time. Ray Mears did that better than anybody. Let's just call it what it is. I mean, Ray Mears was, how do you get Bernard King and Ernie Grunfeld to Knoxville in 1977?
I don't know. I mean, I've heard the stories behind it. It still sounds like an incredible sell. Here's the other thing, too. Is Tennessee basketball second in wins all-time to Kentucky, which they are in the SEC, just like they're second all-time in wins to Alabama in football? Are they second all-time in basketball wins to Kentucky if Ray Mears doesn't come up with the term Big Orange Country? And I spoke to him about that one time. I believe he did come up with that, and the university stole it from him. But if he doesn't come up with that, if he doesn't market it, if he doesn't get Ernie and Bernie, is Tennessee basketball just another Ole Miss?
Yeah, probably.
I mean, those are foundational pieces that you lay, that you build everything else off of. If you don't have a good foundation, it ain't happening.
Right, exactly. And I would take it a step further. I'm going to be honest, because as you know, Ray Mears came around the same time Doug Dickey did. Both of them were very, very involved in kind of bringing Tennessee, should we say, to the modern era of sports, just like modernizing it to a certain degree. Doug Dickey installed the power tee, running through the tee. Ray Mears was doing the same thing with basketball. If Ray Mears isn't doing what he's doing, I'm not sure Tennessee football has its run in the 80s and the 90s. I think a lot of those traditions really carried over to the football program and the university as a whole. And so Ray Mears goes beyond basketball. And another question is, if Ray Mears doesn't have a health issue, do you think eventually Ray Mears wins a national championship in Tennessee? I do.
I wouldn't bet anybody to win a national title, but he would be very, very close. Like, how long did Dean Smith go before he won his first? It was quite a while.
I think he took over North Carolina before Ray Mears took over Tennessee, and he didn't win a national championship until after Ray Mears was forced into retirement.
He won it in 84, didn't he?
Yeah, I'm looking it up now. 82.
Okay, 82. So, yes, I would have said Dean. So I guess I would have said Ray Mears, too. I mean, if I'm going to say Dean Smith, I thought in 1980, I was young, but I thought, yeah, he's going to end up winning one. He's North Carolina, for goodness sake. Good morning to a ton of our listeners out there. Oddspots pointed out where Coach K complimented Tennessee. I didn't see that. All I've seen is Duke fans and Duke analysts ripping Tennessee for playing too physical, which is so ironic to me in a game that they played physical as well. Good morning to all of y'all. Smoky Mountain Red, Travis. And Travis says, did Caleb steal Shooter McGavin's jacket? I love it. That is a strong jacket.
I did not steal his hair. My hair is horrible today, guys. Just so y'all know. I
think you look fantastic. The Shooter McGavin's jacket probably deserves a t-shirt right there. And not having double Z, Zakai Ziegler scares me for this game. Agreed. Smoky Mountain Red said, I do not recall a team where I have to I keep having to look up their names to how to spell them. Trust me, I can definitely identify with that as we write about a lot of Tennessee basketball on Off the Hook Sports. So at the end of the day, would you have him surpassing Bruce Pearl number 2 to Ray Mears?
Yeah, I'd have him surpass Bruce Pearl. He'd be number 2 to Ray Mears. And people are going to say Bruce Pearl did more in fewer years, but it's Bruce Pearl's fault he only had 6 years. I mean, that's on Bruce Pearl. That's not on anybody else. So
okay.
One quick thing I want to throw in, because the Coach K thing that was brought up, that is true. I actually have to give some credit to, as much as I've criticized Duke fans and Homer media, the same way I criticize Alabama fans and Homer media, I give Nick Saban props. Coach K, he basically said Tennessee was a bad matchup for us. They played more physical. And he even said it's not that maybe we could have played better, but it was really about what Tennessee did. And John Shire in his post-game interview came out and said, Mark Mitchell, I think was his name, the Duke player that was out, he said that's no excuse they didn't have Zakai Ziegler. So the Duke players and coaches are off the hook to me when I do, no pun intended, since that's our namesake.
That's a good pun. It's a good play.
Yeah, they are off the hook to me for the criticism I give. You see why Coach K is a 5-time national champion. Wasn't making any excuses. The Duke media and the Duke homers and the national media that runs cover for Duke is a totally different story, and I will go with them all day.
Okay, I want to ask you where you would have, if Rick Barnes, that's the big if he makes the Elite Eight, where you would have him among all coaches at Tennessee, which is a bit more difficult. For the record, if he makes the Elite Eight, I think he's equal to what Bruce Pearl has done. I would not put Rick Barnes ahead of Bruce Pearl at this point. I would put Rick Barnes and Bruce Pearl basically even. And my caveat, though, is if Rick Barnes goes to the Final Four, he is the best coach in Tennessee history, and that includes Mears. So I would have him third, even with a win. But if he goes to the Final Four, that is official in my mind. He is the best coach in Tennessee basketball history. The reason I have Bruce Pearl up there is we talk about foundational pieces. I thought Bruce Pearl laid a lot of really strong foundational pieces for Tennessee. You could argue, no, they didn't really need that. They had Jerry Green, who won a lot of games. But in the basketball community, they were kind of viewed as a team that had a lot of talent, that won a lot of games by default. So when Bruce Pearl came in and showed that his X's and O's were ahead of the game, I love what he did on inbounds plays. That, to me, was a game changer. That made Tennessee seriously respectable, got them to number 1. So I would still have Bruce Pearl just barely. I'm curious your thoughts on the message board. Go ahead and get on board. If Rick Barnes wins, makes the Elite Eight, is he the best coach in Tennessee basketball history? Now, how about Tennessee coaching history? I would definitely have him behind, or right now I've got him behind Bruce Pearl and Ray Mears. And I'm not going to get into all the non-revenue sports, but I will say this, he would be ahead of or behind Pat Summitt, General Neyland, and then Philip Fulmer, if I quickly throw out some names in my mind. How about you?
All three of those. I'm going to put him behind a few other football coaches. I agree with Pat Summitt, General Neyland, and Phil Fulmer. And you're saying if he gets to the Final Four, this is if he gets to the Final Four, where do we put him, right?
No, I'm still saying Elite Eight. So
okay.
For the purpose of this, let's say Elite Eight. And also, are you factoring in that football just means more?
I mean, yes, but I'm also factoring in actual results. So, okay, he gets to the Elite Eight. Okay, say I'm still having him behind Ray Mears. Ray Mears won 3 SEC titles at Tennessee regular season. No one else has won more than 1. So I've got him behind Ray Mears. I've got him behind Pat Summitt and General Neyland are obvious. Philip Fulmer's an obvious. Those are national championship coaches. I got him behind Doug Dickey because Doug Dickey won 2 SEC titles, and he technically has a national championship, guys. 1967, Tennessee claims. You can feel however you want about that, but Tennessee does claim the title that year. So I've got him behind Dickey. I would maybe have him. Yeah, I would maybe have him on the majors level, and then that's where majors gets the edge because football means more. Because majors did have 2 top 5 finishes, 3 top 10 finishes, won 3 SEC titles. Never won an SEC title outright that wasn't by default. That's the only knock against majors, because the 85 and 90 SEC titles were only won because Florida was on probation. But he, for what it's worth, he's got 3 SEC titles and 2 Sugar Bowl wins. And you can't take that away from him.
If Tennessee does lose in the Elite Eight, and I don't think they will, but you would have 2 careers that are very similar at Tennessee in Majors and Rick Barnes. Long runs, lots of wins. What did you get out of it if they don't make the Final Four or win the Final Four? Because in my mind, I've always said this, making the Final Four is, in my mind, analogous to winning a national championship to some extent in football, because you have to get really lucky to win a Final Four. You have to hope you don't run into a hot shooting team. You have to hope that you shoot it well. So if you make the Final Four in and of itself, and what that does for a program and what kind of publicity that brings, that to me is somewhat analogous to winning a national title in football. You agree with that?
I see that. I think my thing with majors, though, is it's not so much the national title. I think that Fulmer somewhat rode a wave of what Majors spent 12 years building at Tennessee to try to he modernized Tennessee football more than a lot of coaches. And Johnny Majors and Doug Dickey together. Johnny Majors was really trying to recruit national, and he installed the pro style in the 80s at Tennessee and really focused on speed at the receiver position, realizing where Tennessee had the edge. And then Doug Dickey using his connections to make sure Tennessee scheduled national games before national TV was a thing. I think those 2 things really set the tone for Tennessee in the 90s to do what it did. And I can't, you talk about Bruce Pearl laying the foundation. I'm that way with Johnny Majors. I can't take away the work Johnny Majors did, the state of the program that Tennessee was in when Johnny Majors took over, and the work he did to really just completely revamp it. I can't take that away from him.
No, that's fair. Portions of the program brought to you by our friends at Zool Beer Company, xulbeer.com. That's xulbeer.com, and Zool Beer Company is absolutely fantastic. Worldwide award-winning craft beers, and they also have parking downtown. You just don't see that a lot. That's Zool Beer, xulbeer.com. Excuse me. Again, worldwide award-winning craft beers, parking downtown, great panoramic view to hang out and have a good time. More after this. He's Caleb Calhoun. I'm Dave Hooker. 2 minutes off the Hook Sports.
Family has been creating jewelry since 1986, each piece unique with a story all its own. I'm Rick Terry with Rick Terry Jewelry Designs. I'm a jeweler, and I want to be your jeweler. We're grateful that you chose us to be Knoxville's best jeweler. My family and staff look forward to serving you. So please come see us. Kingston Pike and Campbell Station Road in the heart of Farragut, and downtown on Gay Street, right next to the Tennessee Theater.
Inflation has risen to the highest level in over 40 years, according to the April 2022 U.S. Inflation Calculator. Will your investments provide you the income you need in retirement? Are you losing purchasing power of your savings due to inflation? Simply stated, if the cost of goods and services are 8% higher and you're only earning 4% in your investments, that money buys you less of what you need. Right now is the time to act. Call Guardian Investment Advisors today.
Hey folks, Gary Viles here. I want to personally invite you to North Knoxville's newest sports bar and restaurant. It's Big Orange Phillies, located in Black Oak Center. And yes folks, it's happening in Halls. Big Orange Phillies offers family-friendly environment with homemade meals and the best deli-style subs around. Billiards, darts, jukebox, shuffleboard, and cornhole, and a full bar. We also offer valet parking on weekends and during special events. We even have a covered back patio. It's happening at Big Orange Phillies. We want, we need, and we appreciate your business.
Hi, Mike Davis here with City Heating and Air, reminding you to always dare to compare. Our team provides quality local heating and air service, installation, and maintenance across East Tennessee. We use only the best equipment like American Standard heating and air conditioning for your residential, new construction, or commercial needs. Honesty, dependability, and customer satisfaction have been the cornerstones of our business since 1961. City Heat and Air. Dare to compare.
Chattanooga, we're at it again. For the 5th year in a row, you voted us best of the best criminal and DUI law firm.
And finalists for best law firm and best personal injury firm.
Thank you for the love, Chattanooga. We won't let you down.
Do you want to own the more that owns every job? Then get to Vassey Lawn and Garden in Cleveland and get you a Toro. I'm David Vassey, here to talk to you about Toro. With a Toro Zero Turn, you'll get more out of every minute and you'll reach the finish line faster. At Vassey's, we like to say, no matter if you're mowing 3 acres a week or 11 lawns a day, homeowners and business owners alike find confidence in equipment they can trust from top to bottom.
Vassey Lawn and Garden, Highway 60 North in Cleveland.
Man alive, it's worth the drive.
Got cataracts? We can fix that. Never miss another moment. With a little help from Doctors Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and Hahn at cctis.com.
Objective coverage.
Hey, that's new.
If we get caught, we're going to jail.
The Dave Hooker Show, a presentation of Off the Hook Sports. YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and the free Off the Hook Sports app.
I'm going to need to see some identification.
Back to Dave Hooker.
Ron Slay to join us shortly. Have you hit that like button yet? Please do that. The thumbs up button. We greatly appreciate that. Whether you're watching recorded or not, we are with you 10 a.m. Eastern time each and every weekday. Be sure and download the app if you haven't to this point. Great stuff on our YouTube channel. Just a fantastic interview with one of Tennessee's top prospects. Go to the YouTube page, hit subscribe, and you'll appreciate that from Luke Winstel, who did a little bit of work with us. And Jarek Gibson is one of the top running backs in the nation, and he's thinking balls. Might be a tough pull, but get his thoughts on the YouTube channel if you haven't gone there yet, and be sure and subscribe. But I highly encourage you to download the app. It is time for, one of my 2 or 3 favorite segments. Yeah, I'd probably say my favorite segment. Let's go ahead and go to 4 Downs. It is right now 4 Downs, brought to you by AndyMasonRealEstate.com.
4 Downs. 4 questions. 4 answers. The Dave Hooker Show.
4
Downs. A presentation of OffTheHookSports.com.
All right, talking some hoops again. Pat Forty ranks the Vols 15th among all Sweet 16 teams. 4 Downs brought to you by AndyMasonRealEstate.com. Over 40 years of experience in his office. You'll save thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars. AndyMasonRealEstate.com. His approach is very simple. Best service, best prices. How can you beat that? So let's dive into what Pat Forty and Sports Illustrated thinks about the Vols. 4 Downs. For the record, Pat Forty and SI has Alabama number 1. So I ask you, first down, is Alabama truly the number 1 team in the nation?
I think if you combine talent on the court and X's and O's coaching, then yes. Now, we can say whatever we want about the character and the focus of this team, but if you combine, look, Nate Oates is a great X's and O's coach, and he's got some real talent on that team. So I think Alabama is truly the number 1 team right now on the court. I think by default, because I think this is just a very mediocre field.
No, I agree. I would probably have Houston slightly above them, but you're talking about a coin flip at this point. All right, so second down, are the Vols better than San Diego State, who is listed above them? The reason I picked San Diego State, defensive-minded team, right above them. I'll just go ahead and tell you, I have trouble believing that San Diego State is significantly better talent-wise. So they're both defensive-minded teams, but yet Sports Illustrated has San Diego State in front of them. I don't get that. Going through the SEC, which is very difficult, I think Tennessee's a better team than San Diego State. I think the spread would be somewhere along the lines of 5 or 6 if they played. How about you?
No, I want to go nuclear on Pat Forty for this, because this is absolutely stupid. San Diego State is not better than Tennessee. I've criticized Tennessee and their ability to go deep in the tournament because of their defensive mindedness and how they play too physical and it grinds too much and it lessens their offensive efficiency. San Diego State does the same thing on a smaller level. defensive-minded teams, the more powerful teams are always going to be the better ones. Think about football, Dave, for a minute, covering football. Have you ever met a defensive-minded mid-major team? Has a mid-major team ever upset a powerhouse with defense? No, they do it with creative offense.
It's true.
It's the same in basketball. You think a smaller school like San Diego State, because defense that comes down to your size, length, athleticism. Do you really think San Diego State has more size, length, athleticism than Tennessee? No.
No, I don't. I thought it was a curious pick by Pat Forty. And there's something that needs to be said. And I know a lot of Tennessee fans feel that a lot of national media are against you. Well, there's a reason for that. And I'm not saying it's anything to be ashamed of. Heck, enjoy it. But Tennessee fans do have a habit, and you pointed this out too, Caleb. The Vol Twitter Nation has a habit of attacking people that disagree with Tennessee's perhaps best intentions. And Pat Forty is one of those guys that's drawn the ire before. So he'll probably draw it again.
Yeah, let's call a spade a spade. Vol Twitter, I respect it, but Vol Twitter will, if you don't come correct at Tennessee, Vol Twitter will destroy you. And Duke's already learned about this week. Duke fans on Twitter have been getting wrecked and complaining about it. Pat Forty was one of the worst. Let's call it what it is. He is mad at Vol Twitter because he was carrying the water for Greg Schiano because he had a personal he had personal access to Greg Schiano, so he wanted Schiano to get that job, and he was running PR for Schiano after Schiano didn't get that job in 2017. That's what happened.
Interesting. I'll let that lie there. I thought that Tennessee was a bit disheveled in whoever they were trying to hire at the time. And they misled their fan base in an orchestrated attempt on social media. Better than Xavier. The reason I picked Xavier a little higher rated on Pat Forty's list, but they have a little bit more basketball tradition than Tennessee. So is Tennessee better than Xavier?
I think that I would have them close to being on Xavier's level. The thing about Xavier that's big is that they have a lot of people who can score. And that's the one advantage they have over Tennessee is, who's Tennessee's going to, we still don't know who Tennessee can turn to if things get tight and you're like, you need a bucket. We've talked about that all year. Xavier has like 4 guys that can do that. And I think that helps Xavier. They're a little more, they're not aggressive on defense, but they're effective. So if Tennessee played Xavier, it'd be another one of those boring games, but I'm not so sure that, I don't know if Tennessee's better than Xavier, but I definitely don't think Xavier is 4 or 5 spots better than Tennessee.
No, and you get to that upper level when you kind of get on his list beyond about 9 or so. That's Michigan State, and that's a group that has some really good coaching. Xavier comes in at 12. The reason I picked them is because that's about where I would have Tennessee, the 10, 11, 12 mark, maybe even 9, because I think there are 9 teams that either because of their coaching or their history in the tournament, they have a bona fide advantage. But I don't think it's 11. I don't think it's 12. I don't think it's 13. I don't think it's 14. And right now, Sports Illustrated has Tennessee as the 15th best team in the NCAA tournament, which essentially might as well be last. I mean, let's be real honest with you, because you have Princeton, who was a 15 seed, and at 16, Tennessee's a 4 seed behind San Diego State that was a 5, behind Florida Atlantic that was a 9. You might as well have Tennessee dead last in this thing.
Yeah. And here's the crazy part. They're one of the teams that's favored to go to the Elite 8, and you have them next to last. I think they're a higher seed than half the teams in the Sweet 16. And I'm with you. I would have them at 9th. I would have them ahead of a lot of the lower seeds. I would consider having them ahead of Michigan State. I think a lot of that is just the belief in what Tom Izzo does. But I think that's a little overblown. And I'm going to say this about Tom Izzo with all due respect to him. I'm a Grizzly fan. I love Zach Randolph, and his game was developed by Tom Izzo. So I got no beef with him. Tom Izzo gets Michigan State to the Sweet 16. He's only got 1 national championship, though. Once the second and third weekend come, his team, once they play better teams, they never really get over that hump. They got over it one time 20 years ago.
It feels like it's the same story with Tom Izzo. Watch out for him. He'll make some noise in the tournament, and they always play physical and rebound. Don't we say the same thing each and every year?
Every year they play physical and rebound, and they get to the next weekend and they lose. By the way, I mean, let's call it what it is. That's how Gonzaga plays too with Mark Few. And I would love to see Mark Few get a national title. But Gonzaga gets to the Sweet 16 every year playing physical and defensive rebounding. And then they run into somebody and they can't close the deal.
Yeah, and is that his forever legacy? Izzo, not to get too sidetracked, but is that forever his legacy if he doesn't win another championship?
I think you can win one and be okay. I don't think it's as bad of a legacy as Calipari's legacy is. I don't think it's that. I think the big reason I think that is I think Izzo has a style, and I think Izzo develops players for the NBA very well. I mean, let's be honest. Like I just brought up Zach Randolph. That's a 6'8" power forward who can't dunk, and he had a 10, 15-year career in the NBA. He was all NBA for the Grizzlies because he was so fundamentally sound. Draymond Green is a stretch forward, but does not look like he should be as elite of a player as he is. That's Tom Izzo's development more than anything else. And I think that's the big story with Izzo is that his legacy is who he's developed for the NBA. Calipari doesn't get a legacy of developing guards for the NBA. Let's be honest. Those guards would be in the NBA if they could out of high school. They're not stars because they played for Calipari for a year. If that makes sense.
A couple of quick notes that everybody seems to love Vol Twitter and their ability to attack national writers. I don't know if Ron Slay loves that or not, but Ron Slay, Vol Twitter is a thing. It is something that some national writers must be wary of if they're going to write something about Tennessee, right?
Yeah, I listen. I got a Vol. I got a tent sitting outside Vol Twitter. I'm like, you know how they do Coach K, Coach Krzyzewskiville. That's me. I'm sitting outside Vol Twitter. I can't wait to get my ticket. I'm always camped out. You know what I mean? As soon as the doors open, I fly in there. I love it. That's home. That's my home away from home. Being able to get into Vol Twitter and just run rampant because it's endless. It's endless. It's endless drinks. It's endless food. It's endless money. Like your tokens never run out. You can play all the games involved to it. I love it. I love it.
Hit that thumbs up button. We love Ron Slay's appearance brought to you by Zach England of Best and Brock. Zach's got your back, personal injury attorney in the Chattanooga area that you just can't get anywhere else, and you can go toe-to-toe with those insurance lawyers. All right, Ron, we were having this discussion. Whose career would you rather have if it ended right now? Tom Izzo, John Calipari?
Oh, I'm gonna go. I'm probably gonna. That's tough, man. I'll probably go Izzo. Because it just feels. I'm a family-oriented guy. You know, I like to have that loving feel, that pick up the phone call. And I ain't saying Cal don't have this. It just feels like I can call Izzo and he gonna answer anytime. You know what I'm saying? And he's not, and he gonna tell me, man, hey, I can't help you on this one, but call me back and I'll get you together. Or he gonna make it happen. Cal, I feel like sometimes Cal's phone will go to voicemail. I think it has a couple more important things to do than talk to a former guy. I think Izzo will make time. You know what I'm saying? So, and then I just, as far as like the career, being at one school like that, man, and just keeping your feet planted. Like, of course, he went other places, but keeping his feet planted right there and what he's created at Michigan State. You start talking blue bloods, and man, even though Michigan State isn't a blue blood, there's someone that's always in the vicinity, you know, and always there. So, I love what Izzo's done, man, and I love the way he comes out, speaks for his players, and more than anything, I love how he admits when he's wrong. I think that's one thing like that you can carry on. I love a man that a person that can admit when they're wrong, man. That's all right for me.
Speaking of admitting when they're wrong,
Caleb, you gonna make me start growing my beard. What's going on? You going caveman on us? What's up?
And somebody pointed out he's wearing the Shooter McGavin jacket, which I thought that was a pretty good line.
We just had St. Patty's Day. I'm mostly Irish. My beard looks Irish, so you know.
I like it.
Throwing it out.
I like it.
Well, speaking of admitting when we were wrong, Ron, I'll man up. I'll raise a drink to you this time. I didn't do the I'm not going to do the Dr. Evil sip tea this time. You You got me. I saw you having a little bit of fun on Twitter over the weekend. So I will allow you to direct your Vol Twitter at me, but I'll say you were right going in. This was a good matchup for Tennessee with Duke, and I didn't think about it until you called me out on it last week. That even though I have concerns about Tennessee, Duke wasn't the team to expose those concerns, and I just wanted you to elaborate on it because you nailed it.
I think a lot of it though, Caleb, and this is to like the media that have had a problem with the way Tennessee played, even though they've watched the Tennessee games all year long and they know who they are. I think when you get to this, once you get to March Madness, it's a different type of light, man. It's a different type of light. It's a different kind of whistle that's going to be blown. And then you got to imagine the era that we're playing in when you got these super seniors and guys that got the COVID year and the transfer portal and all of that. I imagine it like me being an 8th grader wanting to go play with the high school kids, or me being a high school guy wanting to go play with the college teams. You know what I'm saying? As soon as I get on the court, regardless of how athletic I am, skilled I am, the first thing they're going to do is put a forearm in my chest and make me feel them. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just what it is. Like, and they're going to say, hey, young fella, that ain't happening in here. Like, that look good with your peers that you playing with, but we old over here, man. And we ain't doing all that jumping around, flying, and no. If you can jump through this elbow, then go ahead. You cab at it. We smack you on the butt. Let's get back and play defense. But you look at it, and Duke, outside of Roach, they had freshmen that they relied on. Yeah, McWilliams went out and everything. Yeah, but Zakai went out. So you can swap that out. This is the thing. When you get the physicality part of it, it's different when you're playing that versus skill, and if the game is able to slow down, which it was. You know what I'm saying? So I felt that was going to play favor in Tennessee's advantage, and they were able to use it. And guys stepped up. And that's the thing. Michigan State plays the exact same way. Rick Pitino, who's back in the Big East, plays the exact same way. He says they can't call all I know this for a fact. I mean, a fact. I played with plenty of Louisville players while I was overseas, and believe me, around this time, this is all we don't go out to. Usually, we get out to practice when we're playing professionally. Get out to practice about an hour early, get shots up and everything. Man, during March Madness and tournament time, we're not going out to practice till about 2-3 minutes before coach blow the whistle, and it's time to get, because we're sitting in the locker room telling all the stories and everything behind the scenes. Louisville players say, coach says, do play the way I'm telling you to play, because they can't call all the fouls. So if you got to sacrifice someone, as long as everybody's doing it, if there's one person doing it, it's going to look crazy. They're going to call that guy, get him out of the game, and then everybody going to have their way. But if everybody's doing it, they're not going to call 100 fouls, man. They're going to be there all night. Refs want to go home too. You know what I'm saying? So It's that simple. So that's what it is. And then you look at the old style coaches, traditional style coaches. Izzo still playing away. Coach Barnes still playing away. Not the new era guys. You won't see that from the guys that want to get up and down, like a Nate Oates. You won't really see that. You know what I'm saying? So it's going to be different, man. And as long as you can impose your will on the game, you got a great chance of advancing.
Ron, as far as the actual calls, I didn't think they necessarily benefited one team or the other. I think Tennessee's deeper bench benefited them, which I think is kind of what you're saying, right?
Yeah, but without question, I don't think it was officiating at all, because I think the fouls that were fouls got called. Like Eros, which they kept pointing out, Eros putting a forearm in the guy's chest. They called the foul. That was a foul. Okay, let's move on. You know what I'm saying? He ran because a shot was being shot from the corner. The best side to rebound from when a shot from the corner is the opposite side. Filipowski was standing right down the opposite side, unattended to. Eros coming down in transition, went to box out. That's what you better do it. You know what I'm saying? Are you gonna be sitting down on the bench? So that's a part of it, man. And that's what I think. And I also say Duke matched it. Like, they were physical as well. Like, that's what you're supposed to do. If you don't, you're gonna get ran out of the gym. And I'm all for it. The reason being, because I call it when I call it how I see it. Kentucky punked Tennessee up on Rocky Top, Chris Lofton's jersey night. It ain't no ifs, ands, or buts. You go away from it and you ask the guys in the locker room, they say we didn't match their physicality. Kentucky came out and gave it to us. It's the same exact thing. Nobody had a problem with it then. We were praising Kentucky. Yeah, they're back on track. Ooh, look at them. Sheboy, Chris Livingston. What's the difference? What's the difference?
Let me ask you that, Ron, because it sounds like what you're saying a little bit is if Michigan State can get away with it, other teams can get away with it.
Yeah.
Sounds like there's a difference between the haves and the have-nots, so to speak. But Tennessee's been knocking on the door for a long time. Yeah. At what point do you knock on the door and you don't get thrown under the bus by, in this particular case, some of the national media? I mean, how long do you have to knock? It's been like 20 years.
Yeah, I know. I guess till you advance and you win the big one, I guess then it'll stop. Then
it really is. But honestly, is that it? Do you have to win it all or make the Final Four to get people off your back?
I believe so, man. And I think you look at it, and it's also not only the way Tennessee plays, it's the way Rick Barnes coaches. You look at his Texas teams, they were the same exact way. You look at James Thomas, who I played against when he was at Texas. You talking about physical, Lord have mercy. Man, the man taped his wrist, both wrists, to come out there and play basketball. Why you need both wrists taped? How are you going to shoot? This ain't football. What are you doing, JT? That's my man, $100,000. But he knew it. He was like, man, this is what I'm going to have to do. Dirty it up. Not dirty it up, but play physical because I'm going to get every rebound. He got the same traits that Tobe Awaka has. Have you ever seen one person box Tobe Awaka out? No, you won't. They better send two because he's going to swim move him like on the football field and go after him. So it's that brand of basketball and it's that style that it's kind of been taken away because guys have retired. Coach K, look at what he had. Sheldon Williams, Shane Battier, Elton Brand. Like these ain't finesse guys. These physical fools that you better be ready to rumble with. You know what I'm saying? Jay Wright the same way. Even though he had guards and they played their 4-round-1 system, that one was a monster down there. Same thing. Bill Self missed it a little bit because he wasn't in the tournament this year. But the coaches, as they start to move out, you start to see this new era ushered in, and it's more of a finesse style game. So you don't see it as much anymore. But the ones you do see it with, you just look around, man. Those are the ones that have lasted.
So, Ron, speaking of that 4 out, 1 in, I want to turn a little bit to Florida Atlantic on Thursday. What are your thoughts? They go 9 deep. They got shooters everywhere, and they got a 7-footer that can rebound. Is this a matchup that Tennessee should be concerned about?
I think if Tennessee hadn't seen this before, but I think they had the opportunity to see this when they played Alabama, being able to shoot the ball the way they do. When they played Missouri, being able to shoot the ball the way they do. So I think Tennessee, when knowing what they're getting into, and all you got to do is look at the numbers, and I'm an eye test guy. But you look at the numbers on this team, man, they go, like you said, go 9 deep, and 7 of them are shooting 3-pointers. 6 of the 7 are shot over 100 3-pointers. The 7th one shot 93. So it's like one thing about it, they're gonna let it fly, and that's in transition to everything. So I think it'll be a detail that's paid attention to by Tennessee that won't get away from them. I think the thing that scares me the most about FAU is these long shots create long offensive rebound attempts. So you can get second chance points. If you're trained instinctive to close out and challenge the shot on your feet, turn and box. If you go away from that one bit and you run by the guy, to try to leak out a little bit, or you don't come back and everybody, 5 people rebounding, you get those second attempts. They shoot enough they're not going to keep missing. I think they shot 33s and 24 threes or whatever it is. They shot a high rate of threes and they haven't made some. At some point, FAU is going to make some threes. So you can't give them that opportunity to take second chance 3-pointers or you could be in trouble.
Ron, are you surprised at all we haven't seen a Lane Kiffin tweet with FAU in Tennessee? I just checked to make sure, and he posted another picture of his dog.
Maybe the dog will tweet it out at some point, man. I think he got his own Twitter too.
Well, he was going to tweet it out, but he gave it great pause. Pause.
Oh my God!
Did you get that, Caleb? Took a second. Joke grenade.
Oh my God.
I like it. I like it.
Sometimes I gotta tell a tale. Anyway, so he hasn't. Yeah, I've actually got a rim shot of my new fangled machine here that I can play.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. All right. Are you surprised he hasn't tweet? If you had a bet lunch with me? Let's go ahead and have a fun lunch bet.
Okay.
And we can't incite him because I could incite him right now and I could get him to tweet.
Yeah.
But we can incite him. Will Lane Kiffin have a tweet about the FAU Tennessee game before tip off?
What time is the game? It's 6:30.
At 9 o'clock.
I was not. Oh yeah. He almost definitely. I could see right about appetizer time. 6ish. You should be having dinner 6ish or 7ish. First beer or wine glass, and yeah, tweet a fire about an hour and a half before the game. I'm gonna give him all the way up to an hour and a half before the game. He can't resist. Come on, man. It's Lane. He can't resist it. I'm telling you. And it's almost like we're all, like you just said, Dave, we sitting here waiting like,
I'm waiting.
Come on, man. Give us what we looking for. Come on, Lane. Don't let us down.
Yeah. He I think he is such a savant with football. Maybe he doesn't realize it until the night up. But I could say I'm going to predict a tweet coming out at 8 p.m. Eastern time.
Maybe he doesn't tweet as much in the offseason because, I mean, he's a single guy now.
Mm-hmm.
We know his face, and he's
I don't
super
think
busy.
Lane has ever been a completely single guy.
This is true too. This is true too.
Just leave it at that.
Or is it because of the hiring? He don't want to cause too much attention to Chris Beard right now with them hiring Chris Beard.
Oh, that's a good point.
Good conspiracy theories.
Could open up a door for attacks if, like, they've been able to fly under the radar with this hiring, with the tournament going on.
It's true. It was an odd time to make this hire. You are right about that, Ryan.
They waited right between SEC tournament finishing and March Madness beginning, right there on that Monday.
That's a good point. Hey, let me ask you this question, and it kind of put you on the spot a little bit. But if Rick Barnes was able to get Tennessee to the Elite Eight, that would match what Bruce Pearl did. That'd be something that Jerry Green wasn't able to do.
Mm-hmm.
Where would he suddenly rank, just with one win? Where would he suddenly rank among the best Tennessee basketball coaches in history? Would he be number one?
I mean, man, he would definitely have to be in consideration because of what this senior class has captured. He went and got an SEC tournament championship that was elusive. And then this Elite Eight run, which seems to be elusive, even with the talent that has been there. Like, it's like, wow, you've been, like you talked about earlier, you've been knocking on the door to get there, and why can't you get there? So I think it would, and then with everything that kind of fell into place, losing your starter, Josiah being out of the lineup, man, just so many different things. I think it would be warranted. You know, I would probably throw him up at. He'd definitely be top 3. I think he'd definitely be top 3. I think each coach, and depending on their tenure, like I don't think anyone has had a. Well, Bruce might have. I was gonna say I don't think anybody's had a tenure like Coach Green did in 4 years, getting the team back to the tournament, Sweet 16 appearance, ranked as high as 4. SEC championships, but he only did it in 4 years. Like, it was like, wow. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, Caleb could probably pull the stats exactly, but it seemed like those teams that you were a part of were more explosive, better teams.
Oh, without question.
Yeah.
Oh, without question. But you still have to, like, none of us had a back-to-back SEC player of the year on our team and didn't advance. You know what I'm saying? Like, all SEC performers, we definitely had that. But if you ask me, like, to stack it up, yeah, without question, I'm gonna take our squad all day long, because top to bottom, 1 through 10, man, you could have 2 sets of starting 5s on any team in the country.
Yeah, you guys were goofy good. There's no question about it. As a player, when you look and we'll let you out with this, as a player, when you see Rick Barnes' style, that's a little bit more physical, that's a little bit more half court, would no pun intended. Would you give pause to playing for Rick Barnes because you want to go up and down? Would you run as? I'd rather go up and down. I don't mind playing defense, but I'd rather go up and down and throw oops because I can't dunk anymore at 49 years old. But I don't mind throwing some oops to Ron Slay.
See, okay, so this is my thing. I think he does want to go up and down.
Really?
I think he does. I think the players, in a sense, you've had a bad mix, if that makes sense, of guys. So let's say this. Let's take the one and dones from 2 years ago in Keon Johnson and Jaden Springer and put them with the shooting of a Zakai Ziegler or Jordan Bowden or Lamonte Turner, or you know what I'm saying? Like, if you can get these bunches to overlap at some point, I think you have that. You think you just, man, those teams right there, Jordan Bowden, Jordan Bone, like that's what they had to get out and do, run. You know what I'm saying? That's what I think he wants to do, is just you get guys that I believe not sure of themselves to the point and living up to the expectations all the time, if that make any sense. Because imagine if Olivier could shoot the trailer three. If he could shoot the trailer three, this is a totally different ball game. It opens up the floor for dribble penetration. Imagine how many open threes he would get. I would love to play in this system. Oh my God, give me this all day long. That trailer three will be fired up so quick because nobody guards it. You know what I'm saying?
Nobody shoots the trailer three as quickly as Ron Slay.
I'm letting it fly.
It's obvious when you would cross the half court stripe, he's going to shoot it.
But he was 35% from that three.
I'm not knocking it. I was just saying I can see it in his eyes. He's already looked at the defense. He is going to shoot at the top.
Hey, Caleb, a lot of those contested so imagine playing with a guy that can shoot that three. So now you got to close out. So when Zakai is known for turning the corner and getting into the paint, he's got to play against the guy that's supposed to be guarding the trailer, the guy that's guarding the paint, and his guy. You know what I'm saying? So it's different. If that guy's out of there and you gotta stick with the five man that lobs open, it opens up so much more. I just think you can't get those guys in that spot. And really, you got to have a mindset also, I think, of, man, I don't care if he take me out. It is what it is. I'm shooting this ball. I just think it's part of it. And you got to work on it in practice so it looks normal to everybody. Like, you can't come down shooting the trailer three from the logo and you ain't been doing it in practice because everybody going to be like, what is he doing? He's crazy. You know what I'm saying? So I think they do want to run, man. I just think he likes more quality shots as well. So if you can get a quality shot while running, you got to get out and go.
Ron,
Caleb, take it away, but I got to mention this. Smoky Mountain Red said Chris Lofton was inspired by Ron, an inspiration for Tennessee basketball for all time.
That's what I'm talking about, Smoky Mountain Red. You know your history. That's what I'm talking about. that second E logo three, that was me.
Ryan, wanted to jump in before we let you go about, I know you tweeted about it yesterday, but what does it mean to you as a personal friend of his, of John Henderson getting into the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame? I think, you couldn't have a more worthy person, two-time All-American, Outland Trophy winner. What does that mean to you, just who knows him as a friend?
Man, it's amazing, man. I'm so happy he's getting acknowledged, man, because you talking about a guy that's humble, man. He always shines the light on people near him. Like, I don't even know why this ringing. Maybe that's him calling. Like, our fax machine never rings.
The fax machine?
It never rings. Like, I mean, never. So maybe that's him calling to let me know. Don't give him no flowers right now. But that's the thing, man. He always shines the light on other teammates and things of that nature. And knowing he's been this talent his entire life. You know what I'm saying? He's always been the best. And he's always pulled guys along with him to carry. Like, he put us in the group chat, all us from high school, yesterday, and was like, y'all, this ain't just me going in, this all of us going in. You know what I'm saying? So he's always thinking of others, man. And I'm so happy for him. I'm so happy. So I think he's gonna let me be the guy to introduce him.
Really?
You know what I mean, yeah. Then to the Hall of Fame. So that's gonna be a cool experience. I always looked up to him, man, as the big dog, and he is. But man, he always kind of carried me with him, and motivated me while being able to watch a guy like him.
Are you nervous yet about the speech?
No, I can't wait. I'm trying to think what stories I can tell that'll be okay. That'll be okay.
I'm trying to envision Ron Slay if you had chosen to play defensive end next to John Henderson, how intimidating that would have been. Adam Gainsworth, John Henderson, and Ron Slay.
Oh, it would have been serious. But see, I didn't want no parts of that defense. Like, you could have kept me a tight end or something, and I would have did something. But no, they get too rugged, man. I had to watch them all the way through high school. They wouldn't even try to block him. The ball would be snapped, and they would dive straight at his ankles. Like, this is high school. I'm like, dude, what? How you gonna do this, man? Like, and it's crazy. He got through it. I don't know how he got through it, but he did.
Ron's last thing, you like Tennessee to win against FAU?
I do like Tennessee to win. I think they're gonna be paying attention to detail, get to the shooters, challenge, and not give up second chance shots, and do the same thing. 9 turnovers or less. They do that and don't allow this team to get out and run. And they got to show FAU got to show they can go rebound on the defensive end to get the rebound to get out the run like they want to do. You got to be able to impose your will again. Have guys going to the boards like Julian Phillips. That was humongous. Him going to the boards, Josiah Santi going to the boards. Like, that's different, man. When you got to get 5 bodies accounted for and able to get back, you got something good. So, yeah, I got him winning.
Ron Slay, you can check him out on 104.5 The Zone with Brent Doherty and Don Davenport. He does a great job from 3 to 7. If you're in the area, certainly check it out. Ron, have a blessed day. We always appreciate it, buddy.
Yes, sir. See, keep the beard, Caleb. Keep the beard.
Thank you.
As long as you can do it, it's not all white. I tried mine in December, and it was all white.
White and red. That ain't.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. Stay tuned. More after this. He's Ron Slay for Caleb Calhoun. I'm Dave Hooker. We get to some of your comments on the message board. And also, we remind you need to check out crafttreats.com, crafttreats.com. Use the promo code Off the Hook. That's the promo code Off the Hook. And you can get their CBD-infused pet treats that will help with your pet's digestive issues. Perhaps they've got the arthritis issues in their hips. Certainly helps my pet, or social anxiety issues as well. All of that, crafttreats.com. Use the promo code Off the Hook, promo code Off the Hook. Get 20% off the CBD chill pills or anything else on the site. 3 minutes, and why Tennessee's newest opponent on their football schedule ain't doing a lot for me. Stay tuned. More after this. Off the Hook Sports.
Sun, sand, and salt water, the beach is a very relaxing place. Unless you wear contacts. Ow! Open your eyes to the best the beach has to offer with LASIK vision correction from Campbell Cunningham Laser Center.
Do you want to own the more that owns every job? Then get to Vassy Lawn and Garden in Cleveland and get you a Toro. I'm David Vassy, here to talk to you about Toro. With a Toro Zero Turn, you'll get more out of every minute and you'll reach the finish line faster. At Vassy's, we like to say, no matter if you're mowing 3 acres a week or 11 lawns a day, homeowners and business owners alike find confidence in equipment they can trust from top to bottom.
Vassy Lawn and Garden, Highway 60 North in Cleveland.
Man alive, it's worth the drive.
Hey folks, Gary Viles here, Viles Automotive on Callahan Drive. I've been selling cars here in East Tennessee for 27 years. In that time, I've come to realize it's not about the car. It's about you, the customer. So I'm here to take care of you just like family. Good credit, bad credit, you name it, we can get you taken care of. If we don't have it, we can find it for you. We go across the country to get any vehicle that you want. And here at Viles Automotive, we don't believe in fake numbers. We just give you great deals. And as always, we want, we need, and we appreciate your business.
Hi, Mike Davis here with City Heating and Air, reminding you to always dare to compare. Our team provides quality local heating and air service, installation, and maintenance across East Tennessee. We use only the best equipment like American Standard heating and air conditioning for your residential, new construction, or commercial needs. Honesty, dependability, and customer satisfaction have been the cornerstones of our business since 1961. City Heat and Air.
Dare to compare.
Chattanooga, we're at it again. For the 5th year in a row, you voted us Best of the Best criminal and DUI law firm.
And finalists for Best Law Firm and Best Personal Injury Firm.
Thank you for the love, Chattanooga. We won't let you down.
Our family has been creating jewelry since 1986, each piece unique with a story all its own. I'm Rick Terry with Rick Terry Jewelry Designs. I'm a jeweler, and I want to be your jeweler. We're grateful that you chose us to be Knoxville's best jeweler. My family and staff look forward to serving you. So please come see us. Kingston Pike and Campbell Station Road in the heart of Farragut and downtown on Gay Street, right next to the Tennessee Theater.
You're listening to The Dave Hooker Show, a presentation of OffTheHookSports.com.
The internet is full of pictures of each and every one of you.
Available on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and the Off the Hook Sports app. Download now for free.
Is there nothing you people can't do?
Also available on OffTheHookSports.com.
All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and take it to the next level. Let's go ahead and tweet Lane. Lane Kiffin, pick on Vols versus FAU.
You doing it?
Yeah, the Kiffin Classic. All right, let's see what he says.
Better than the White Bowl, like I suggested yesterday with with Danny and Brian White at each school.
Yeah, I suggested at one point because Brian White is Danny White's brother. So I suggested to Fred White way back in the day that we do a show called The White Way. That's his last name. He wasn't too crazy about that one either. That one didn't get very far beyond the boardroom desk.
Oh my gosh! Y'all, I don't know if you've ever watched Modern Family, but Phil played. They go to family camp and they're all on these different teams, and Phil's all the teams are coded by color, and Phil's on the white team, and he's like, "I'm predicting total white domination this year."
It's not. Got to be careful with what you say nowadays, and in this woke world, there's a debate ongoing about ESPN showing women's tournament basketball games. We might discuss that a little bit tomorrow, but this just in. ESPN's also carrying the tournament.
And it was also on a Tuesday night where there was no men's NCAA tournament game.
It doesn't matter, though, if it's rugby or lawnmower racing. ESPN is going to show highlights from that.
Look, I get the annoyance with wokeness over the years, but now there's this like new industry of people looking for reasons to be outraged by wokeness that's just as annoying, quite honestly.
Well,
and
let's do that tomorrow. Yeah. What the H? Tennessee has scheduled North Carolina State in Charlotte? Huh?
What the? What was he thinking?
Release the hounds.
The Dave Hooker Show.
Keep cool.
A presentation of OffTheHookSports.com.
Brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning, cityheatandair.com. Integrity matters when it gets warm, and you may need that HVAC unit looked at. Go to City Heating and Air Conditioning if you're in the Knoxville area. They'll take care of you. I can promise you that. And they'll give you the right assessment of your unit, not necessarily a brand new one that's going to make them a lot of money. No, integrity matters. 50 years in the Knoxville market. Tennessee, North Carolina State in Charlotte announced yesterday. I haven't spoken to you off the air. We specifically at our 5 a.m. production meeting did not speak about this game because I wanted your honest reaction. So Tennessee, NC State, that will be in Charlotte, the Duke's Mayo Classic. That will replace the Vols' previously scheduled game against Oklahoma. Thoughts?
This was roughly put together. So I know people are upset about it, but I don't think Tennessee had much choice. Oklahoma's joining the SEC in 2024 now. They had to cancel that series. I mean, college football, like games like this, they're scheduled 4 years out. So there weren't many options to really pick from if you wanted a more high-profile opponent. I think Tennessee should be happy about it, honestly. NC State's had an interesting run the past few years with Dave Doran. They've kind of been – they're not like a powerhouse, but they've been on the surface, and they've been giving Clemson a bit of a push if you've been paying attention to them the past few years. So I don't think it's a bad matchup for them, given where the program is right now.
I wouldn't make this – I wouldn't schedule this game if I were Tennessee. And the reason is you do have an opportunity to go there, and even though Tennessee travels well, that's somewhat of a road game. I think Tennessee will have as many fans there as NC State will.
I think they'll have more.
Yeah, I think they'll have significantly more. And it's going to be in the Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte, so it's not at NC State, just to clarify for those that didn't follow. I would have scheduled, listen, if you're just looking to fill a slot, which is essentially what you're trying to do because Oklahoma is gone, and you're trying to fill this slot, there's probably not a premier opponent out there. So once somebody tells me, hey, Danny, I hate to tell you, you can't get an Ohio State, Michigan, you can't get any of those elite teams. You also can't get a name team in UCLA and Southern California. I'm just picking teams at random, Caleb. Okay, well then give me an in-state team that could use the money. That's what I would have done. I would have taken an in-state team, whoever it might be, Tennessee Martin, whoever, have them at Neyland Stadium, have another opportunity for fans that maybe can't afford the Alabama and Florida tickets of the world to show up. That's what I would have done. Now, the recruiter in me, or the guy who covered recruiting, would say Charlotte is a good place to get exposure. That is the one argument I have for that. But other than that, it just didn't make a lot of sense to me. Why not have a home game against a lesser opponent in state so you keep the money in state? That's what I would have done.
I'd take it a step further. Unless you're at the Chick-fil-A Kickoff Classic, which you know sells massive TV rights and has things like that. I don't know where you are, David. I feel like financially it doesn't make sense for Tennessee to do these neutral site games instead of a home and home. And I think they're going to make more. Like let's say you played 2 neutral site games in 2024 and 2025, or you played NC State at home in 2024 and NC State on the road in 2025. I think you would make more from that one home game than you would from the 2 neutral site games combined, because you only get half the revenue. You have to split the revenue with the other school.
That's right.
And then you also have to pay the promoter, whoever puts on this game. So the only way you make your money back is if it's a nationally televised game where you sell TV rights for a ton of money that the school split. Otherwise, I don't get this home and home.
No, here's where I'm holding neutral site games. It's a pretty short list. It's Atlanta because of recruiting. It's Miami because of recruiting. It's Dallas because of recruiting. And you could probably make a pretty strong argument. They did this at one point up in the DC, Baltimore area, because I think that Tennessee could do better in that regard. They don't have a great history there. I just think there are guys with a lot of non-allegiances to schools because the schools around them aren't great. And I think the football is underrated. That's not just because I covered it. I saw it up close. Now, Charlotte would be on that next tier, but not high enough to just go ahead and have Joe Milton or Nico Iamaleava put together a fantastic half and feel more comfortable in an offense. I mean, this is a game that Tennessee could potentially lose. I don't know why you would put that on the schedule, but we are going to be talking about a season in which you could probably lose 3 games and still make the college football playoff. So things have completely changed and been turned on their ear in the past couple of years. So maybe that's what Danny White's thinking too. It doesn't do a lot for me.
No, I'm with you on that. The only thing I would push back on is with something like UT Martin or something like that is I think they probably already have an FCS foe scheduled for 2024, and I think you can only do one a year. So I think you would have to do MTSU or Memphis. But again, Memphis is another dangerous school that, like, do you really want to play them in Knoxville? And I mean, you shouldn't lose to them, but it's one of those. They're not the Memphis that Tennessee used to beat up on in the 90s and the 2000s, outside of that one year in 96.
Well, can you use this for leverage for basketball?
I don't think Rick Barnes wants to play Memphis in basketball anymore.
Okay.
With the Rick Barnes Penny thing,
you think that's more from Tennessee's side than Memphis' side?
Yes, it traditionally was more for Memphis' side, and I actually got the point for Memphis because their point was we have to go to Knoxville to play. They have to go to Memphis to play. Tennessee gets the major recruiting edge playing in Memphis that Memphis doesn't get playing in Knoxville, if that makes sense. So that was the big reason they didn't want to do the series. They tried to do it at a neutral site game in Nashville, and Tennessee was like, why do this in Nashville? So that's why it's not happening the way it is anymore. But football, I think it's just more, it's not worth playing Memphis and risking something like that. MTSU is one thing, but even MTSU is kind of a decent program now for their level.
And Mr. Jones points out that North Carolina is prime recruiting ground for Tennessee. I totally get that. I totally agree with that. But I think things have changed a little bit in that every game's televised, so exposure in that particular city is all grand and all great, but you do still have, that's an NFL town that you're competing with for viewership, and with readership in the paper or however they log on nowadays. So you're still competing with that. And is that a better recruiting day beating NC State by 10, 30-20 than it is rolling up 54 points on a lesser opponent at home and showing the excitement of Neyland Stadium? If you could make it happen, I'd take the latter.
And the payout's better for the latter. Let's call it what it is. And I mean, we know Danny White's got this, because the whole point, I was reading about this yesterday, this is going to go towards their, what was it? The $500 million fundraising goal. You play a home game. That's going to get you to your $500 million goal a lot faster than a neutral site game is, unless you're doing one of those major promo games that sells either recruiting, but also that sells massive TV rights. The Chick-fil-A Kickoff Classic. That's why Alabama does it every year. You know, Alabama could make a lot more money just playing a home game against Western Carolina that week. But
what do you think they make now per home game?
Alabama or Tennessee?
Tennessee, net, done, profit.
I have no idea the numbers on this.
When it was in the 2000s, it was about $1 million per home game. That doesn't include TV rights or anything.
No, that's okay. I don't know.
Because when Bristol Motor Speedway came and said he could promise each school $20 million, he didn't realize he had to have the TV rights. And when I wrote that, that was Bruton Smith said that, who owned Bristol Motor Speedway. And let's say my phone from Mike Hamilton blew up pretty quick, because $20 million, $20 million per school, that was a heck of a payday. Yeah. I would think they make, with inflation and everything and the higher prices, I mean, I'm talking about numbers that are 15 years old, Caleb. I would think they probably make 5, 7, 8 million per home game.
I think so, particularly with the
parking and everything.
Network. Yeah. And the thing that you probably understand that a lot of people don't, they think all TV rights now, that is true with the NFL, but with colleges, ticket sales still matter a lot. Like people going through the turnstiles, that matters way more than it does in the NFL. And they need that.
I tell you, I was talking to somebody who had great insight into this, and I agree completely. Do you know when you're going to start to see the move to the mega conference, unless it happens snap of a finger, like we have seen happen with schools going to other conferences? Unless it happens snap of the finger, the first thing you're going to say is you're going to have higher tiers for more successful programs in the college football playoff from the TV money. Like if you win kind of like a bonus for head coaches, if you win a Super Bowl, if you make it to the national championship, your school gets a bigger portion of that TV money. Then it's going to be more natural and easier for those teams to break away, if that makes sense.
Oh, that's exactly what's going to happen.
You basically prove how Vanderbilt is bringing nothing to the table.
Yes.
If you're the Big Ten, you prove Rutgers is really not bringing anything to the table.
I think what you have to do at that point is, well, Big Ten, they're still selling larger TV rights because of the fact that for some reason networks are still buying based on the market size of where the conference is. Even I think the thing with the Big Ten is the Big Ten, they probably understand what the SEC understands. The SEC understands that brand size values more, but the Big Ten was like, we can create a bubble that favors us because Fox is going to be so stupid. They're going to think that there's more valuable us being in LA than it is us just having a more big name program attached to us that has more followers. And so the Big Ten is cashing in on the stupidity of networks more than anything else right now. And
I agree completely. I mean, how many people are watching in LA? Not as many as you would think from the number 2 market in the entire nation. So.
Yeah, the Pac-12 championship game had more viewers in Salt Lake City than it did in LA.
He's Caleb Calhoun. I'm Dave Hooker. Percentage or just overall?
No, just more people from Salt Lake watch the Pac-12 championship than LA.
Yowzers.
Yeah, more people like Utah than USC. Utah's a more valuable program than USC.
Well, it's been a great Mormon on the program. Have a fantastic day, everyone. He's Caleb Calhoun. I'm Dave.